But all right, my name's Ray. I'm going to start this presentation. I'm from here, and the reason that we do what we do is for the people that we love, right? So I'm going to start with showing pictures of my family. This is me and my wife, and we went to one of those painting with a twist place, and she followed the instructions of the instructor perfectly, and I got bored, so I reversed them, which kind of worked out really nice because now they hang up on the wall and it looks like they kind of like go with each other. Yeah. Now, the other thing I want to point out is there was a time that I had much longer hair. Yeah, just a tad. And I cut it about a year ago. And it was the first time in my life I'd always had short hair. We have 4 kids, so I have 3 boys and a baby girl, and we like to go out, be in nature, do stuff, right? We also like to go see cool stuff. So I don't know if anybody watched Tiger King during COVID, but if you want your own local lore of a Tiger King-esque park, you can go down to the alligators down in the San Luis Valley. It is a trailer trash version of a zoo. If you think I'm joking, the chain link fence between you and the alligators is curled by about 2 feet out from where it's connected. It is extensive. Anyway, you can pay to hold the alligators, and my kids absolutely loved it. Now, the other thing, is that life is about living, right? My kids got into playing in the backyard and started playing with dirt and then found the buckets full of water. And then my wife called me in a panic because we were working on like, hey, just let the kids be kids. They'll be okay. And she called me and said, you are going to deal with this when you get home. So I hosed them off outside. And then this is my daughter at the sand dunes, and the sand was too hot. She was very excited. Here's the last, like, going into school, right? They look like a cellular tower, they're just like growing. And then, this is, anybody who has boys is really simple, right? It's rocks, dump trucks, and dinosaurs, right? That's how, and so by result, my daughter, who very much loves pink, will wear a pink tutu and play in the mud with her brothers out in the front yard. Let's get to a little bit of the story, right? So when I got this brand deal to start this brand, this is how it started. This is where I grew up. I grew up here in Colorado Springs, out east. A lot of people don't know that half of Colorado is flat as Kansas, right? And but this is where I grew up. This is where I spent my time, and these are the people that raised me. These are my grandparents. This is World War II, right? This is how I knew him. I didn't know him like this. I knew him like this, right? My grandpa, I could talk to him about anything except for the war. He wouldn't answer any question. He would play dumb. And then this was my grandma. She was from Liverpool, England, with a thick Scouse accent. She'd have a little bit of coke with a chicken. And the only time we'd get her accent to come out is we'd make her mad, or she'd talk to family on the phone. And so most days we'd make her mad to get the accent to come out. But when I first started, this is the truck and trailer. This was the brand deal. Yeah. I bought this truck from like an adopted grandpa, and I bought this trailer at a garage sale for $250. And it didn't have the orange rails on it. I had a friend weld that up for me. So the metal that's on it and the boards, I would flip the boards up, and then I'd put the junk in, and then when I get to the dump, I'd hand unload it. So I did that for 3 to 4 years. And you can see that I'm really good at problem solving with the mattress pile. Yeah, that's on the left, right? So that's about 10 feet. I didn't graduate high school. I got my GED. I don't look good on paper, But anybody that I've ever worked for will hire me again because of the way that I work, because of the way that I problem solve and the way that I connect dots. And when I got married and I was trying to figure out how to start a family, I was having a really hard time finding anybody that would pay me enough to be able to make things work. And I knew that the franchises were making enough money to be able to pay a franchise fee, to be able to pay for advertising, to be able to pay for logos, and for the owner to be able to have enough for themselves. So I thought, it's not that hard to pick things up and put them down. I'm one of 11, so I have 5 brothers and 5 sisters. Basically, if anybody ever needed any labor, they would call us. So I had been doing manual labor my whole life, so to get paid good money to move stuff sounded great. And since I came from that kind of upbringing, it meant that hand-me-downs and handouts were the way that I survived, which meant that I was blown away by the fact that someone would pay me to haul away the things that I would get out of the dumpster after they left, right? So like the stuff that you would save. The reason that there's wood here is that I could not get a bank to take me seriously to get a loan for a truck. And I couldn't save up enough money to buy a dump truck. And I had, for almost 2 years, I had stacked firewood because my uncle is a 400-pound Polynesian, and the way that he wanted to work out was he wanted to split wood. And I connect things. I've always built bridges between stuff. And where I parked my truck and trailer, the neighbor was a tree company, and they make money on chopping down the tree. They don't make that much money on selling firewood, and they can only chip up to 12 inches. So I said, hey, can you guys tell me when you guys chop down a tree and I'll pick up the firewood? And they were way happy with that. Well, I stacked that firewood for 2 years, and then I found this guy. This is Roy Palmer. He's a retired general contractor, and he put an ad on Craigslist that said he would trade his truck, this truck, for firewood. Really? Yeah, really. So I reached out to him, and I was like, is this a scam? Can I come out and check out this truck? And he said, absolutely. So I came out, I checked out the truck, and he said, well, I already have one guy who said he could deliver me 1 cord of wood. He wanted 8 cords of wood in total. He said, and this guy in the mountains could deliver him 1 cord of wood for a week for 8 weeks, but he heats his house in Black Forest with firewood. He's like, how fast could you get it? And I was like, I could get it to you in 10 days. And he was like, okay, well, let me call this guy and tell him that I'm going to go with you, and I'll do it. So then for the next 2 weeks, this is what I did. It was my slow season, and I took all the wood that was in my uncle's backyard, and I split it, and you can see my son here helping me. And we stacked it all up. And then Roy was particular. He was like, I don't want it just thrown. I don't want it dumped. I want it stacked nice and tight because I don't want to have to pick it up. So we would load the trailer, hand load the trailer. We'd put it in this big pile, hand load the trailer, drive up there, and I would hand throw it off, and then I'd stack it nicely so that it was even and the water would go off of it and not sit on it. So it was a huge labor of love just to get this thing. And this thing was great. When on the back there were 2 hinges, door hinges, and you had to slide a pin in. So to get off the back 4x8 sheet of wood, I'd pull the 2 pins and I'd lift it off, and then that's how I'd dump it. So I had to make sure that I set my gate to the side every time I dump. But this was heaven sent because I didn't have to unload it anymore. I could just press a button, it'll lift up, and it'll slide out. And I absolutely loved that. But this is what I looked like. This was my professional look. And that now I knew 2 things, right? What really matters with junk removal? What really matters is getting it out and how quickly you do it. Right? And if you answer the phone professionally, it doesn't actually matter that much what the truck looks like, right? Like in the end, you're getting rid of it, and like it doesn't fly out in between where you are picking it up and the dump, right? People are happy with that. So I put out these bandit signs. I talked to the serial entrepreneur, and he said you should put out these little bandit signs, and I was like, those will never work, right? Me struggling to make it. This person owns 7 to 10 businesses, and he's telling me what to do, and I'm telling him he's dumb, right? Okay, I bought the signs, and my wife was like, you should put out the signs. And I was like, I don't know if they're going to work. And I bought 50 signs, and I put out 20 signs, and I did what I used to make in a month in 7 days off of these signs. The little bandit signs work. We still do them. You'll see our logo with a rainbow one. We also have a black and white one. I split test it. But as I continued to go, this truck, I wanted it to look nicer because this was the bed. The spare wheel had sat in the center, okay? Sat in the center right here, and it rotted it out. So I would take pieces of wood from junk jobs and I would screw it in so the stuff would slide out. And then the last little aluminum piece, it was like rotted out, but I had to like screw it to the back part so that it wouldn't catch stuff. That started to bother me, but I called a welder and I was like, I don't know how to weld. And he told me it was $125 an hour plus material. And I was like, I can't afford that. But you know what I can do? I can build a bridge. So what I did is I took junk and I traded junk for a welder, and I went to YouTube University and I taught myself how to weld. So then I built this in the backyard of the house that we were renting. I completely took off everything, completely built the substructure, put on the plates, and then if I'm teaching or learning something, I bring whoever's around me with me, and that includes my kids. So I taught my kids how to weld as well. And eventually I get the bed made, but work still has to get done. So now it looks better, but not great, right? I also traded that trailer with Roy for Firewood the next year. So he had a bunch of stuff and we just kept using it. I wanted to make it look professional, so then I painted it in the backyard, and then this is what it ended up looking like. Yeah. The logo I designed, all of this has been a definitely bootstrap story, right? Now, this was the biggest job we ever did in Woodland Park at the beginning of the business. A general contractor, that's a loose term, had used this as his dump site for several years, and then this is what we made it look like in the end, right? So, yeah, like you can... Is that your greenhouse there? Yeah, a little bit of a greenhouse. This is some of our trucks now. We got a nice new truck with nice pretty dumpsters, but my kids still dumpster dive and help us with stuff. And then we got a little bit of Jedi action where can you see the concrete hovering? Yeah, there you go. So sometimes when we have jobs that have really heavy items that we don't have to climb into the truck, we'll bring the dumpster truck, set the dumpster down, and load it so that it's much more efficient, right? This is JJ and Richard. By the way, I didn't introduce my team. Let's do that right now. Okay, so behind the camera, we have Lakeith. JJ, you're going to have to stand up. This is JJ. And then we have Oliver. And then we have Chris. This is my general manager. And then Tara. And then another fellow artist, Craig. All right, where are we at on time? All right, I got 12 minutes. So these are the dumpster sizes that we offer. We have 20-yard, 15, 12s, and then 10s. And then one of the things that I learned on the phone is that people always have this question of like, what do you take? What do you haul away? And I used to say we haul everything. And then I did a job from a guy that I did a networking group for, and at the job, he's like, hey, would you take this bag off the trash can? My trash guys wouldn't take it. And I'm in go mode. When I get on a job, I get where I'm like, let's just get this done. Part of the story that I didn't really tell is when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. I took on a contract cleaning up foreclosed homes, and for 6 months I made $3 an hour. Wow. Yeah. And at the end of that contract, I went back to work at a plastics manufacturing plant, and I listened to business books and business podcasts for a year because I knew that I didn't know something. And what I learned in high school was that if my hands were busy, I could absorb material, right? So from that, I learned that it's really important to help somebody understand, and it's pivotal to help somebody understand with laughter. So I came up with this slogan when I rebranded, which was, "We haul everything except hazardous waste and dead bodies." Because what this guy had in this bag, as I grabbed the bag and I threw it, as it left my hands, what I smelled was the rotting flesh of the dead squirrel who had got into its bird feeder, and that's what the trash guy wouldn't take. So after that, I said, "I'll take everything except hazardous waste and dead bodies." So if you have that, I don't want it, right? I do have an uncle who will take things if you have cash. Sorry, Sheriff. So these are some of the situations that we run into. We run into this guy had gone through a mental break, gone through divorce, and started drinking heavily. And at the center of this room was 12 inches of compact Coors boxes and cans. And then this is what we made it look like. Now, the thing is about every time you have a junk job is that there are treasures. So in that job, the coin from 1921 fell on my head as I tilted over a bookshelf. So there is treasures in junk. Like we have this guitar, we have this, this was an 1898 cash register. And it was in the corner of this garage in Fountain, and this lady had lived there for 30 years, and I was like, "Are you sure you want us to take this?" And she's like, "I'm retiring, I'm going down to like a 1-bedroom house, I don't want any of this." Because of the way I grew up, I do not enjoy, do not wish, do not want to send things that took a lot of effort to get created to just go to the landfill. It is really disheartening watching a front-end loader that's the size of this half of this room that has big metal tires crush everything. Like, what is the point of having stuff that gets created and then just throwing it into the landfill? I'm not a big fan of that, big proponent of that, which is why I like taking art. I like taking junk and making it into art. On the bottom left, your left, is a red-tailed hawk and a wagon wheel. That was the first sculpture that I ever made. And then the owls are broken shovel heads. We had one guy who had 17 broken shovel heads in one like milk crate, and I held on to him. I don't know why I held on to him, but then I started making these owls. This is a frog I made for my aunt. And the eyes are hitches, the balls off of hitches. Now, the other thing about being someone that connects things and builds bridges is that you generally end up in situations that somebody else brings you something. My brother he's like me, he's like charisma, talks to everybody, makes friends, makes people laugh. And he's at a local supply house for contractors, and the guy who's in charge of the yard is complaining to him about all of these miscut I-beams. And so my brother says, "Well, what do you want for him?" And the guy says, "Well, I'll take a handle of Jack." So my brother goes to the liquor store, buys him a handle of Jack Daniels, and he trades him for, this is a quarter of the I-beams that he got. Okay? So these are the miscut that, like, once they're cut, you can't return them to the steel place, right? So then they end up as, what are you going to do with it? So that's how they showed up at my lot, and I got a request from a contractor who found out that I could weld. I really enjoy getting good at stuff. So when I started welding, then I started getting better and better at it and researching it and diving deep down. So this is a event center off of Palmer Park. And they wanted a pedestrian bridge between the dance area and the like spot where the ceremony happens for this wedding event center. So I took those I-beams and I put them across this gap. It's 12 feet by 20 feet long. And then I built that. Yeah. So my life has been one of building bridges and connecting things. And the thing that I love about junk removal is I get to connect the stuff that people need to get rid of because there is emotional weight kept in things, and help it divert from going to the landfill and becoming something more. This is the last slide on like who uses junk. Everyone at some point will have to do junk removal, get stuff out of their life, whether that's, the small, studio apartment. You have to, like, you're doing junk removal every day, making sure nothing gets there. And then there's also the collection over of a lifetime, right? A lot of us in this room have relatives that went through the Great Depression, and because of that, they held on to things because at that time, like, those things would have mattered, right? So, any questions? All right, go.
Greg Swartz Electric. As an electrician, we do projects where there may be 50 or 100 light fixtures, 2x4s, and oftentimes we are not set up to take those off of a project. Do you handle projects like that? And what we've done in the past is we put those in a 10 or a 20 or even a 30 cube, and then you handle the rest, including send it to a recycler or whatever, and instead of actually paying you, we get a check. Have you ever done things like that?
Are you talking about like metal recycling, basically?
Yes, where we are on a project, we just put the light fixtures in the dumpster, try and separate the bulbs and stuff, and then you handle the rest of everything. You collect your fee, and then we actually end up getting a check from you.
The short answer, no.
Okay.
We do charge for that service, and right now steel is so down that I don't know if there would be enough to get over that.
Sure.
Right? I mean, if you had a dumpster full of copper wire, yeah, well, I definitely could send you a check, right? But but metal right now is 3 to 6 cents a pound. Right? So, like, think of your car being, like, let's just say it's 4,000 pounds, right? Times 0.03, like, what would your car be worth? Yeah.
Anybody else? Questions?
Yeah, there's two behind you. Yep.
Just a silly question. Do you have junk at your house?
Yeah, I guess what is junk defined. Do I have junk in my house? Yes, I have. I brought 2 of my kids to my lot on Sunday to work on a project, and they dumpster dived and found stuff, so they brought extra stuff home. So yes, as of right now, there is definitely junk at my house. They did love it. They found my daughter found 2 Care Bears. She was jazzed.
I just want to say, amazing presentation. I know what you do with junk and make it and turn it into art. That's wonderful. It's awesome. I'm just curious, do you still have your truck that you traded for wood?
I do still have the truck. I did graffiti the front of it. That is the other part of my story, is that I've always been creative since I was little. And then I got into graffiti, but now the green is just lots of greens now. But yes, I still have it. It looks great. Any other questions?
Did the green of that first truck dictate the colors in your logo?
No. I mean, I wanted the green because it's like recycling, right? So I was trying to like color theory and the way that logos go. So the green was just on the truck was an added benefit. All right, any other questions? Yeah.
You'll do homeless camps on private property, yes?
Yes, we will do homeless camps on private property. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever talk to high school kids so that they can see what you've done?
I have. Okay, so a couple years ago, maybe about 3-4 years ago, I went to a couple home shows, and home shows and like events are a little bit like self-imprisonment because you don't want to leave the booth, right? And then there's the other part about like the other people around you tend to be like you don't. Sometimes they can be like a Kirby salesman and they're like pushy. So the only way to like pull people in is to happy heckle them, right? So to like. Anyway, I've shared the story, and I did have an administrator have me come in, and I did talk to students. And what I discovered was that for the kids that struggle or that think that college isn't, like they wouldn't do good in college, I'm really good for those kids. I'm good to show them that they have a superpower in the way that they work and that the system isn't always built for their superpower.
So tell everybody what the door prize is, Ray.
The door prize is with the welding, I teach 4-hour classes for couples. So the person who wins gets a 4-hour, like it's a welding lesson plus learning how to build a sculpture. Nice. So, yeah.
And he has a couple examples of it.
I do have, I have 2 sculptures up here.
Junk removal with a twist.
Yeah. All right. We got Tim Christofferson.
Way to go, Tim. Thank you so much, Ray.
You're welcome.
Give him a big hand. We'll see you all next week and board meeting afterward.